Rev up your engines!
Well, here we go with GM again. A Chevy Bolt electric caught on fire after it got both of GM's software fixes that was supposed to keep from catching on fire. This one happened July 1st in Vermont. It caught fire in the morning while it was still plugged in charging at the guy's house. And this had both software updates that claimed to prevent fires in them. Either the software fix isn't fixed or it's a hardware problem. Hyundai had the same problem, and they ultimately decided they were going to replace all the LG batteries. And these batteries that are used in the GM product, it's also LG battery too. So LG had to replace 82,000 batteries for Hyundai, and that was in their Kona electric vehicle. Porsche also had a recall on their Taycan LG batteries, and Ford moved from LG in its Mustang to SK in its Ford Lightning. So they're using a different battery system. Of course, everyone's wising up. Hyundai's switching to SK batteries too, just like Ford has. Now, LG already settled a lawsuit for $1.8 billion. And this is a vehicle with less than 40,000 miles on it, the one in Vermont. Now, 6:30 in the morning, the man in Vermont said he heard a loud sucking noise. And he went outside and saw flames coming out of the back of his Bolt. Now, the fire department came in. They had to put multiple hoses in the back seat. They kept flooding it for half an hour. Now, hilarious thing is, the man who owns this GM electric car, his name's Briglin, he is a politician. He's an elected official in a small town there in Vermont, raising the stink about it, saying, hey, they're supposed to fix it. They did, and I didn't want my constituents to go down in flames either. The new software that GM is supposedly supposed to monitor the cells for voltage variation, avoid fires, or tell you, well, you need to replace your battery because it's dangerous before a fire starts. Well, it didn't warn him of it, and it started on fire, so obviously it doesn't work. So either the software isn't correct to fix it, or the hardware is just garbage. And since all these other companies are getting rid of the LG batteries, I'm assuming it's the batteries themselves, and GM is just too cheap to recall all these batteries and force new ones to be put in. Now, this is at least the 10th fire that's known with these things. I'm sure there's more, people don't report things. If I were you, don't buy a Chevy Bolt. And if you do own one, boy, you're going to charge it, make sure it's far away from your house so it doesn't burn your house down while it burns itself down. Well, here's an interesting one. There's a shortage of four-cylinder Toyota Supras. Now, I realize, of course, they're really BMW. Actually, not even German. They're Austrian. They didn't make that many 2-liter four-cylinder Supras to begin with. It's like less than 20% of their production run. And so there's a shortage because, there's a small amount of them anyways, and only 20% of the Supras made have the four-cylinder engines in it. And I don't wonder why. I mean, the list price of the four-cylinder ones is only like $6,000 less than the 6-cylinder, so you're going $50,000 versus $44,000. You can pay all that money, you might as well get the 6 that's got 300 something horsepower and that little bitty 4-cylinder engine. It's just how it goes. Plus, I mean, if you think about it, the Supras were always a straight 6-cylinder engine. They still are. Why would you want a 4-cylinder Supra? That's a nothing Supra, really, even though they cost that less. The reason there's really a shortage is because they're hardly making any of them anyways, and they don't sell that many overall to begin with. They've never sold that many of these things. They're not really all that popular. They're more a talking point than anything else. Oh, I got the new Toyota Supra. It's really a BMW, and the BMW Roadsters, they never sold all that much either because everybody knows they're endless money pits as they age. They have problems. They cost a fortune to repair. I mean, when they first were building Toyota Supras, the frames weren't welded right. They had to take them back and re-weld them, and it was a BMW recall, not a Toyota recall, because they have to be recalled by the company, the factory that makes them, and they're made by BMW, even though they're made by Magna Steyr in Austria, the final product, because they're more custom-made stuff, like the Mercedes Geladenwagen, the G-Wagon, that's made in Austria, too. A lot of these custom-made stuff, they take things from the company, of course, engines, trannies and stuff, and then they soup them up and put them together in Austria. So if you're looking for a 4-cylinder one, it's going to be even harder to find, but there aren't that many people looking for them in the first place. If you look at the small amount of sales that they have in the United States each year of those, it's more a talking point than anything else. Well, here we go again with GM and their crap quality. They're now recalling over 400,000 pickups because the airbags can explode and injure you. Now, this covers 2015 and 2016. 2016 Chevy and GMC Sierra 1500, 2500, and 3500 trucks. The airbag inflator can rupture and the end cap can fly off on both sides of the truck. These are the side airbags. Now, they're not notifying the owners until August 16th. I always love this. You know, it's July now, and yet they're not notifying people till August, but the side airbags might explode and the ends might hum and hit you in the head. You'd think it would be immediate, but be that as it may, you better be even more careful driving your pickup around. Airbags might send a little message your way that you don't want and whack you in the head or body. And this is not a Takata airbag recall deal. This is a GM problem, just in those pickups. So, not quality. I wouldn't buy one. If I were you, I wouldn't buy one either. Their quality's just down the wazoo. Lou Paul 08 says, Scotty, my brake pedal gets hard and my brakes are engaging without pressing the pedal. What's the cause? A Toyota Revo. Okay, well, it's a model they don't have here, but all cars work the same way. Let's say you just had a brake job done. The main case of that is brake pads that are the wrong size. They're too big and they rub, and as they rub, they heat up and they lock up the brakes. So if you've had a brake job done recently, it was done with the wrong pads. Now, if you haven't had a brake job done and they get hard, then either your calipers are sticking on because they're worn out, drive it, jack it up, spin the wheels. You see one wheel doesn't spin, that caliper's locked up. If more than one are locked up, then it's probably a bad master cylinder. The brake master cylinder gives the pressure, and when they wear out, sometimes when you let go, they don't release the pressure, and you would need a new brake master cylinder. An easy way of checking that is, let's say your brakes are locked up, and you have it jacked up, open the bleeder valve. If you open the bleeder valve, and then they're unlocked and you can spin them, it means the master cylinder's bad, because that relieves the pressure from the master cylinder. If you open the bleeder valves and they don't free up and they're still stuck, the caliper is stuck. It's an easy test. Anybody can do it. So Lansari says, I keep seeing water leaking on the asphalt underneath my Highlander. Is it normal? I know it's not the water pump, but it keeps dripping, causing a pool. That's air conditioning condensation. I'm assuming you have an AC and you're using it, and it will always drip there. What happens is your AC compressor compresses the refrigerant, turns it into a liquid. Right? Then when it goes inside your dash with the expansion valve, it sprays in your evaporator. And as it sprays, it gets cool, and what it does, it's a heat pump. It sucks the heat out of the inside of your vehicle, which is what you want. So then you get cold air blowing in your face. But just like a weather front comes and you're in a warm, humid area and a cold front comes, what happens? It makes it rain. So basically, it rains inside your car, inside the evaporator. You got a little storm going. You don't have any lightning, so it's not a thunderstorm. It's just a rain shower. Well, the water's got to go somewhere. So inside the evaporator, it's in a plastic case, there's a drain at the bottom, and that's the evap drain. And when you shut the car off, then all that water just starts draining under your car. It's totally normal. Now, if all of a sudden you don't see it anymore, and you're using your AC, you want to get under there with a hose and blow it out and clean it out, because they can clog up with goo and bacteria and leaves, and then it'll end up dripping inside your car and making a mess. So it's totally normal. That's what you want. So Edmund says, my vehicle's stuck in four-wheel drive. How can I free the internal gear without taking it apart? I got an old 70 Jeep. At the bottom of the case, I changed the fluid and everything, but it won't shift into four-wheel drive. It's stuck. What can I do rather than taking it apart and rebuilding it? Here's what you could try. And it's the best thing you'll possibly try. Get yourself a few bottles of Marvel Mystery Oil. It's one of the best penetrating fluids out there. Pour it in. Let it sit for weeks. Then pray it helps. It's an old 1970 Jeep, so it's old, but it's great stuff. Then try to break it loose. Maybe drive it a little and get it warmer, and then try to break it loose. If it does, great. If not, you're going to have to take it all apart, because it's an old Jeep. It's what? 52 years old. That's old. But Marvel Mystery Oil is pretty amazing stuff. You might find that it'll break it loose. Then when you're done, just drain it out and put regular gearbox oil in the thing. Well, here's an interesting tidbit. The fastest police car in America is now a truck. It's the Ford 2021 F-150 Police Responder. Now in Los Angeles, the police drove an F-150 at a quarter mile in 14.4 seconds. Better than any car they had. And in Michigan, they clocked the F-150 0 to 60 at 5.4 seconds. And 0 to 100 in 13.1 seconds. Realize it's a 3.5 liter EcoBoost V6 engine with a torque on demand transfer case for the 4x4 system. 4x4 can actually improve speed and handling on corners too. It's not just for off-road stuff. Snow, ice, rainy weather, The road slick, it works for that too. So you see the cops driving around one of these police interceptor F-150s. Don't think that, oh, I can outrun that little bitty pickup truck. That's going to be nothing. No, they're really fast. Police and pickup trucks, what would they think of next? So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.